faults this offseason or have been out there that not bother you the most, but that you want to clear up the most?
Man, that's a great question off the top. I think, the assumption of we had a predetermined notion of what I would be able to get in a trade value is not. There's no way of us knowing that. We were told what we were looking for, and if it was 5 first-round picks, I would have agreed. It allowed us to figure out my value across the league. Not only that, but personally, I was able to see what value I could bring to other teams and this team as well. Fortunately for me, a lot of the guys I've represented or have represented their teams at the Pro Bowl were all there with me. Danielle Hunter, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. I've gotten to know those guys over the last 4 years, and through that, their teams have respectfully rewarded them for the hard work and dedication and willing to win that they had for their respective teams. So that was the one that didn't sit well with me. That narrative of like, we guarantee something, that's not possible to do. And, we gave it our best, but selling myself short is not something I was planning on doing in that process.
What did you say at the top? So y'all had this a little bit more. I guess, why did you end up coming out here wanting to do this today?
A little bit transpired between me and Zach. We've tried to keep it as least amount personal as possible, but at some point in this process, it becomes personal. Being sent 30 days before mandatory camp, or however many days it is, that if I don't show up I will be fined, alludes to the fact that something won't get done in that time frame. And that, with the lack of communication post-draft, made it evidently clear from my party, meaning my wife, my son, my agent, right? Like, we're talking a small group of people, that I had to inform that this might not work out. And that's unfortunate. I don't think it was necessary. I think we all should have hoped for the best until proven otherwise. But through that, other things have transpired, like the importance of me being here in OTAs doesn't seem to be respected, and I think I've carried a lot of respect. I don't mean to insinuate anything about anyone's character, but that was disappointing. I think that's the word of the off season. I think we gave it our all under Lou's defense, and we did fall short. And that's about being a man too, is standing up. So, good question.
Do you feel the organization has your back, Trey?
They've had my back since free agency originally. Coming out of New Orleans with a lot of question marks around my name. So to say they don't have my back is not true. I think they do. I think they've done right by their own perspective. My perspective, unfortunately, is a little different.
Trey, are you considering with I guess it was 2023, one of the main questions that when people talk about your situation with the Bengals, is some of the questions that people have is, what went into your decision to sign that 1-year extension if your long-term goal was to get a long-term deal here?
So a little bit of what's happening now foreshadows that year. I had that offer for months before I agreed to it. It wasn't something that I rushed to the altar. It was something that aligned with my family's goals at the time. It gave us a little bit of ability to plan our family, another year to see where I'll be, and that aligned with the goals that I had for my career here in Cincinnati. So, and with the fact that the Bengals never did that before, I carried that as respect as well, and I knew that if I outplayed that, the same respect will be given as it continues. So that is something that would have happened anyway. I think if I did not take that deal, we're talking franchise tagging the 30-year-old, right? That's the magic number. That would be more me than another player coming off the 2 back-to-back seasons. If I did not take an extension, I doubt I would be able to walk away in free agency free.
Trey,
Why
did
did
you and
any
your
numbers were exchanged between the sides?
Go ahead.
When was the last time that any numbers between your side and their side were exchanged?
Oh, that's a difficult question too, right? Because it goes on like the meetings that we've had prior to, right? I have a tremendous amount of respect for the ability to be in meetings with them behind closed doors, and what was conveyed of the vision of what I would be and this organization would be if I continued to play at the level I am, that the door would be open to continue long-term discussions about contracts. So it's one of those things that we're just not seeing eye to eye on the structure. It seems that a shorter deal is something that they are pushing pretty hard. That puts us in the same place I was in 2022, where I have to renegotiate the next year, because if goals are the same and playing at a better level than I did last year, then next year we're just kicking the can down the road. So it's something where I think both parties should understand that a long-term contract with guarantees that know that I can continue to play at the level that I have been is a mutual respect, where that's where my values lie, and it also allows me to stop having to negotiate every offseason about something that has been almost 4 years of doing.
Trey,
So
last
are you willing to sit out regular season games? You feel like if it came to that, it's something you feel like you might have to do to try to change that? You can't do that.
Well, I can raise a hypothetical with a hypothetical. I wouldn't be standing here with you if I got the deal in January, so to say I'm going to sit out or to say I'm not going to, what I can say is I'm very disappointed with the communication that's been had. It's very, former players have walked in these shoes, and what it foreshadows is not something that I'm excited about to tell my wife and family, like, hey, I'm getting good vibes or should be happy. Those comments stink, and that's what makes this place so special, is that they watch me every day. They see how hard I work. There's no other organization knows me better than this one. They watch me an individual, they see how I carry myself as a human being, and they know me. So it stinks when the value somewhere else, because I was fortunate enough to have that trade request granted, whether it was 1, 2, 3 first-round picks, I had no idea. It gave me the fortunate circumstance to see my value elsewhere, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, and I truthfully will put my hope in that. Ultimately, though, my hope is in the Lord. So
At this point, do you want to be a Cincinnati Bengal?
wow, that's a tough question too, because you try not to let the business become personal. I think over the last week or so, it's become personal, unfortunately. And when there's a lack of communication in any relationship, if it's business or a personal relationship, lack of communication leads to animosity, and that leaves my narrative only to me with no clear direction. So the lack of direction, the lack of communication is leading to things that are allowing me to think about what's going to happen more than how great they have treated me over the last 4 years. Because let me say, my son was born, I've said it to everyone, my son was born right up the road. My wife worked at the Cincinnati VA. This is my home, and I wrote that yesterday. It's home. And unfortunately for myself, I have to deal with that kind of dilemma in my own, finding out business and personal. Because on the one hand, you see OTAs and you smell the grass, and it's football. And man, I'd be lying if I said I didn't love it. And on the other hand, there's a proper time for that. And there's a lot of things that have to change before that happens.